Hey guys, Joe here of the Madden Sports Podcast, joined this afternoon by Meghan Angley, writer with DNVR Avalanche. Meghan, welcome to the show.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Absolutely excited to have you here. Your Colorado Avalanche are doing absolutely fantastic. But before we jump into talking things about that, let's jump into talking about you. How's your week so far treating you?
It's been going well. I couldn't imagine a better time to be doing what I do for work. So it's just an exciting time being a part of the Stanley Cup final process. So it's exciting. Obviously, I would have liked for Monday to have kicked off maybe better with the Avalanche and a better performance, but I'm just really grateful to be here.
Absolutely. Well, I've got a feeling that we have a great game four coming up on our hands for your team, the Colorado Avalanche. Let's talk about how you got into this industry. How did you get started?
Yeah, I had a passion for hockey young. And so I knew that I always wanted to work in hockey in some capacity. I went to my first game when I was in middle school. And so going up through high school, when it became time to look at colleges, I thought that I would pursue hockey in a more scientific arena. And I wanted to study concussions and contact sports. But when I started knocking out the writing requirements in college, I discovered that I was relating every writing prompt back to hockey and made the switch to journalism while I was in school with the purpose of one day being a beat writer and covering a single team and being a part of that day to day, giving roster updates, practice reports. It was what I wanted to do. I knew at least in college once I made that switch. And so afterwards, I did things relating to marketing in sports. Because it was hard to crack into journalism specifically. There was an exodus in sports writing happening in Denver media around the time that I was finishing school. But the pieces finally came together in this last year. I started writing with DNVR. Someone I knew from school had recommended me, and I began covering the AHL affiliate, the Colorado Eagles, and working with the Colorado Avalanche throughout this season where I could as well. So I've really only been doing this specifically for the last year, but I've known that I wanted to do it for a very long time.
Okay, where did that love and that passion for hockey come from?
It was a college hockey game, which
Okay.
is interesting. I went by accident. No one in my family watched or played hockey growing up. And once I moved to Colorado, we were going to Air Force Academy sports. So we went to an Air Force Academy football and basketball game. But it was the hockey game that left a really lasting impression on me. And I made a commitment to learning everything that I could about this sport because it did have such an effect on me. And it ended up not being a phase, to the surprise of everyone. So now my whole family's on board with hockey too. But I just couldn't get enough of it, especially watching it, listening to it on the radio. And so it just took one college hockey game in a dinky cadet ice arena, and I was hooked.
One game and you're hooked. I love that story. Were you always a sports fan though? Like, did you grow up with a family that rooted for football teams, baseball teams, basketball teams?
A little bit baseball from through my dad's side. It was the first event that like a sporting event that I attended was baseball. And so I do have a love of baseball in my heart too. But it was still a more passive hobby in our family. We would watch the Super Bowl each year,
Yeah.
but we also played sports. But I did things like dance and gymnastics and cheer. So I had some sports components in my life growing up, but it was never a huge influence.
Okay, really interesting to hear that story. I like it. Competitive cheerleader then?
Yeah, it was dance. It ended up being dance in the end.
Okay. Okay, good for you. What kind of dance did you do, Meghan?
I did all kinds. I really loved hip hop, which surprises people, but I
Yeah.
had to do ballet lyrical as well.
Okay. Yeah, ballet was one thing that I tried as a kid, and it was just way too quiet for me, and I
It's way
wasn't
too
able to
quiet.
stay in the class.
Did you do cheer?
No, I actually didn't do cheer, but my daughter is big into the cheerleading side of things. But if I would have got into cheerleading, I would have loved it because
I
you can
think
be
so.
loud and you can be yourself in cheerleading, not like ballet.
It's a great outlet. I love that.
Absolutely. Okay, let's talk about your Colorado Avalanche. We know that they are 2-1 in the series right now with the Tampa Bay Lightning. I think they're going to have a great game four. What's the buzz happening with you guys in Colorado?
I think it is to expectation. I don't think anyone on the Colorado side of things believed that this was going to be an easy path to the cup and that it was going to be a sweep by any means. I think there was disappointment in how the Avalanche lost game three, but the Tampa Bay Lightning are a worthy competitor that's also here for a reason. And so there's some disappointment following game three, but the overall consensus is it's two heavyweights exchanging blows. Game two, game three, they both responded. So now the Avs have a chance to respond in game four. And everybody believes that the Avalanche can do it because game three was not a great representation of what they're capable of. There were a lot of team-wide failures that happened.
Yeah.
So there's still belief that they can win in game four and just come out with a completely different execution. But credit to the Tampa Bay Lightning as well. I think a lot of people on this side of things have seen what they're capable as two-time Stanley Cup champions coming into this thing. So no one's underestimating them, but there's still a lot of belief in the Avalanche.
Well, if Colorado can take game four, they will return home for game five. What would it mean to the city for them to hoist the cup at home?
There's so much rich history here for this team, even though it's only been here since 96. And it's a long time coming. You know, they haven't seen the cup in Colorado since 2001. It would mean so much to the hometown fans who are already showing up in huge numbers just to watch games outside of their arena at watch parties. It's just filled to capacity. The city has been buzzing. There are flags on bridges, under overpasses, that kind of thing. So it would mean quite a lot to the Avalanche fans here in Colorado to see that come back.
Now, do you think with Colorado here in the Stanley Cup Finals, you are seeing newer fans to the Avs themselves?
Definitely, because what the team has been through in the last decade has been challenging and has brought some hardship. And so I think that there are a lot of fans who have stuck with it throughout that process, but the sport is growing in general on a national level. And so I think there are a lot of first time hockey fans who are experiencing what I experienced when I went to an Air Force hockey game for the first time. And they get the buzz of the playoffs and what this means for this team. And so I think there's a lot of new faces, but I think they're very serious in their interest in hockey.
Absolutely. Well, there's so much happening in Denver right now. We know Russell Wilson has joined the Denver Broncos. What are your thoughts on that?
I love it because that's actually one new face that has been seen in Ball Arena supporting the Avalanche alongside his wife with his family. But there's a lot of buzz surrounding that. It's restored a hope within the Broncos fan base. I think that this is a team that can return back to its winning ways that they know historically the Broncos are capable of. That's something too. Like, they're a team that hasn't really been to the playoffs and they're going through a playoff drought. Avalanche fans have been through it. Seeing someone of Russell Wilson's caliber come to Colorado definitely sparked a lot of hope.
Absolutely. Now we know there is changes coming for Denver with the Broncos ownership. What are the thoughts on this?
I think this was something I felt was inevitably coming just when we knew that there were things going on with Pat Bolin's health. And this change in ownership kind of reinforces changes that are being made to build a championship caliber team. And that comes with heavy hitting financial backing. And so I think that there's a lot of proving, especially like in the interest and the heart and the care for the team that comes from ownership that's going to be proven to fans over time. But I think there's excitement because it was change that felt necessary too.
Absolutely. What else is happening at DNVR Avalanche? What have you got going on, Megan?
Well, today specifically was a quieter day. They're doing renovations at the space that we work out of. And so we've been a little bit displaced, but we've got Jesse, he's my coworker in Tampa right now, giving us some updates from practice today. And so there's some hope that a really important player for the Colorado Avalanche could return for game four. I think it's going to happen. I think we're going to see Nazem Kadri return to the lineup. after nursing a hand injury. He's been skating and stick handling in practice. He was there again today, and that would be a huge addition back to the lineup for Game 4 that we can expect to happen.
Yeah, I think we can put money on the fact that he probably will be out for Game 4. Not see him come into Game 3 after traveling to Tampa was one thing people were questioning if they were just waiting to see if the Abs went down in last night's game before bringing him back for Game 4. So definitely excitement to see him, hopefully, fingers crossed, hit the ice for Game 4 there, Meghan.
Definitely.
Okay, well, thank you so much for joining me here on the Joe Madden Sports Podcast. It was a pleasure to talk with you. If Colorado wins the Stanley Cup, how are you going to celebrate?
I am going to cry a lot. I don't know how I'm going to celebrate, but it's definitely going to be with my parents because they've supported me in this love of hockey along the way. And it would mean a lot to see some players that we've been watching from the time we were first hockey fans, like Eric Johnson and Gabriel Landeskog, get to lift the cup. So I'm going to go to my parents immediately. They're in Colorado Springs.
Oh, I love that. That is a wonderful thing. Wonderful way to celebrate. Well, Meghan, I want to wish you all the best in everything that you are doing. Keep up the great work in the industry.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. If people are looking to find you on socials, can you let them know firstly before you leave where to find you?
Absolutely. I'm on Twitter as Right by Wah and Instagram as Meghan Angley, and you can read any of my articles at thednvr.com.
Awesome. Thank you, Meghan. You guys, I will be back at the bottom of the hour with another Joe Madden Sports Podcast. Meghan, it was a pleasure.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you.